Hi guys, how you all doing? Hope you're keeping safe and well. Welcome to another episode of Brown Car Guy and Buddies. And in this one, I'm talking to a good friend of mine. He is basically Saudi Arabia's top automotive journalist, certainly the most long established. Although we're going to discuss that a little bit in the kingdom, and it's always good fun chatting to the guy, and it's always fascinating to get his insights into the Middle East market. So let's get into that. Before we do that, make sure that you're subscribing to my channel and hit that notification icon so you get updates as soon as I upload a video. And of course, follow me on social media. Just search for hashtag Brown Car Guy, and that's on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and of course, subscribe to browncarguy.com. Cool. Let's get into this. Hey Bakur, how you doing? Long time no see. You okay, buddy?
I'm fine with all the conditions that we're in. We're doing good. We're doing okay. Actually, alhamdulillah, we're doing more than okay. Being busy during this time, I would say, Shahzad, it's a miracle. I'm being busy doing what we're doing. As a matter of fact, I come from print, like yourself. You come from print originally, and somebody today, I had a meeting and says, "Hey, what happened to your magazine?" And I'm going, "What? Print?"
And you're like, "What decade are you living in?"
Yeah, it's like print is been stopped 3 months ago. Literally, all the daily newspaper in Saudi Arabia, because of the COVID-19, they stopped. No more printing. So even if I wanted to print, all the printing presses are closed. So anyways, no, I'm doing good.
We're gonna get into the history, and also because there's going to be an overlap between my history and your history. But before we do that, I mean, how are you all doing? You're all safe and well. I mean, how has lockdown been in Saudi Arabia? Are you still in the lockdown now, or?
Yes, we are. We have a curfew. Well, actually, I'm sure you're following up with this. Right after Eid, the government kind of loosened up the lockdown. Although during Eid, we had 24 hours lockdown. Literally, nobody gets out of the house. So, and keep in mind that traditionally during Eid, people visit each other, and culturally, that is just really part of the customs and celebrations of Eid and so forth. The lockdown was really needed because that's where really the society mingle with each other. Right after Eid, I think 6 days later, the government loosened up relaxed the lockdown a little bit, and so people can really go out until 8 o'clock in the evening, and then the curfew will start from 8 o'clock in the evening. Well, second wave hit up.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, things went up immediately. The government went back again and called back that decision and actually issued a lockdown curfew from 3 p.m. in Jeddah. So, so we do have a curfew 3 p.m. Yes.
Anyway, that's current affairs. Let's wind the clock back to quite some decades ago. And so one of the things that I always like to tell people, whether true or not, I like to claim I'm the first motoring journalist in Saudi Arabia, right? So now we're going to try and figure this out, because I started out at Saudi Gazette in 1989. And I think that I probably left Saudi just as you were starting up doing what you were doing.
Okay. 1991. Yes, you are. You have that title, my friend. You are the #1 automotive or motor journalist in Saudi Arabia. No, I started actually and launched Saudi Auto in 1991. So the first issue, or the zero issue that came out, it was on that year. And it was not what it became. The concept completely evolved from what it was intended to be. So Saudi Auto today is a concept that is completely different, and actually targeted to a little bit different segment as well. Initially, when I launched Saudi Auto used to be called Saudi Auto Trader.
Right, right,
Literally,
right.
literally, what was the purpose of that is for the used cars,
Yeah,
classified selling cars, but it's a magazine style,
right.
not a
But
newspaper.
how did you get into that? Were you from a publishing background, or I guess I mean
Uh,
I'm so sorry. I guess you were probably still a teenager at that time, right?
No, no, actually, academically, I'm not. I'm, believe it or not, math and physics major, and then business and major in college and MBA. No, no, I wasn't really a publisher. It was a hobby for me, actually, a lot more than anything else. So when I started Saudi Auto, really that was my first job. I
Mm,
haven't worked anywhere. I did not work for anybody. I was just really wanted to start my publishing house. And when I came from the US, after I finished my degree in my college, I really bought the equipment.
right.
At that time, to start publishing, you have to have your typesetting
Mm.
machines, your vertical cameras,
Oh yeah, yeah,
you're just really, it's really huge.
yeah. Oh
I would
yeah,
say
yeah,
machines
yeah.
that you have to have for you
That's
to be
right.
able, and you have to have the artist, or the, I would
Yeah,
say, the designers, where they cut
that's
the
right.
bromide
The paste up
frame, and they
artist,
do
and
the
then
cut
create
and
the
paste up.
bromides. I
It
know.
was
I think.
manual, my
I
friend.
mean,
It was manually done.
you don't need to tell me, mate. Seriously, because I that's when I started at Saudi Gazette. It was paste up. That's what they were all doing at the
Right.
time. And then
Yeah.
when I came back to the UK, I worked on a newspaper where I was
Mm.
actually the one that was taking the would take the newspaper to the place where we'd get the bromides. I'd get bromides
Right.
done, and then I'd go to the
Exactly. Here we
printers.
go. Yeah.
So yeah, we've all
And you
been
have
through that.
and you have to smell the bromide, the chemicals. Man, that was okay. So I've done all of that, and I started manually doing that, and then actually over the years, the concept have changed. I literally, so that people see. I wanted to create a medium for people to trade their cars without
Mhm.
having to go to the Haraj or
So
the
no,
auctions at
yeah,
the time in Saudi Arabia.
so I understand that because you're calling it Saudi Auto Trader. So essentially, it was like a
Right,
classifieds car sales.
right.
But did you have any editorial content in it at all at the time, or it's purely adverts?
Little bit, just a
Mhm.
little bit. More of news, snippets, than actually, any reviews. No,
Yeah,
no, no. It
yeah.
was just news snippet on what the dealers really have
Mhm.
launched new cars and so on. Really
So
news snippets. The
so let me go
focus
back a little
mainly
bit more. Let me go a little bit more. You because you said it was a hobby. When you referred to hobby, did you mean publishing or cars?
both.
Ah, okay.
It
So now
was,
let's
it
get into
was,
it.
it
So what's your car history? How did you get into cars?
Okay. Personally, I'm a classic puff. I remember one time I was in college and I went to. I used to live in the northwest of the United States, so I was going to college up in Oregon, and San Francisco used to have an auto show over there, at least in that
Mhm,
region.
mhm.
And I went one time to the auto show over there, from Oregon down to San Francisco, and I saw this awesome-looking car. It was red, and it was a classic car, and actually, it was for sale. So at that time, I thought it was a Datsun Z28.
Okay.
Little I know, later on, it was the Jaguar E-Type. KX.
Oh, really?
E-
Wow, that's
yes, yeah,
interesting. That's
yeah.
interesting. Right, right, right,
So
right.
that was my
So hang on. So
first.
what year would this have been?
85,
Okay.
84, 85.
So
Okay,
85. So by that
1985.
time, the E-Type was already a classic at that time.
It's already a classic,
Yeah.
yes. So, and that car, it was reconditioned. So, I mean, if you got in the car, is the interior is reconditioned. Really, I mean, it's a classic car, but
Yeah.
if you know what I mean. But when I say reconditioned, I mean the
Yeah.
engine
Restored and
was
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
restored, but it's still everything is original.
Yeah, of course.
So that was my first venture in the actual automotive. I
So
would
would you say
say
that that was the first car that inspired you then?
yes. Oh
Wow.
yes. Oh, definitely.
Wow.
Oh, yes. Oh, definitely. I mean, I
So
did
we
not.
owe Bakur Azher and Saudi Auto to the Jaguar E-Type. That's phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So, so that car really sort of opened the door for me to look into the classic and beyond, I would say. So
Wow. Okay.
that was
So
really
did you end up buying that then?
I did. As a matter of
You
fact, I
did.
did. Yes. I should send you pictures, but I did.
Yes.
Yes.
We need pictures of that.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So yeah, I did.
did you run it then? Did you drive it around in America whilst you were there?
What I did actually, I did not ship the car, and I drove the car from San Francisco all the way to Eugene, Oregon. That's where I was living at the time, and it was the best drive ever because you have to drive through Shasta Mountains and you go through, it just gorgeous, and I really enjoyed driving. And the people, I just did not know how much. In the States, they just appreciated these cars. These cars were like embedded in American culture. I mean, people would just stop. I mean, if I go stop on a restaurant, or people would just stop and just be gathering around the car and they're looking at the car, and then they see this. I was at the time, I would say 22, and I was like, the heck, you
22-year-old in a Jaguar. Was it a convertible or was it a coupe?
No, it was hardtop.
Okay, cool.
It was a coupe. It was a coupe. It was a hardtop. It wasn't a convertible. So, but anyways, yeah. But even in I think in the city of Eugene, it's a small town. It's a college town where I was living at the time, and I was going to University of Oregon. I think I was the only Jag at the time that was there. So when I drive that car around city, you just noticed. Just people gotta have a look at it. My wife used to call it ego booster. So
the E-Type has been called a number of things, so that's probably only one of them. But so how often? Let me ask, how often did this break down then? This Jaguar E-Type of yours?
Okay, actually, that's a very good question. Look, actually, I really maintained it well. Now that was not my daily drive car. So the car been in the storage a lot more than I would say I've driven the car. Right. So I had another car. What I call it is going to school and back to school. I mean, my running around town. Yeah, it's a weekend car, honestly. And I kept it really in a mint shape. I mean, and it's raining because in the northwest it rains quite a bit. If it rains, I would put it in the garage. I would just wipe the rain. It was really TLC'd tremendously.
So it sounds like this was a proper love affair with this car. This wasn't just like, a toy. It was like you fell for this thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, at that time, at that age, that's where the relationship between the automotive, because you really have to know your car, because that's the thing about it. That's where you get to know the car, not just the car, the industry as a whole, I would say. So yes.
So is that so? Do you think that that's where your awareness of cars and the car industry and the car world started to grow from?
I would say so. Now, keep in mind, I had cars before, but not as I wouldn't say exotic, but I would say at that age. Keep in mind, to me was charismatic. Charismatic. I would say the word. Yes. Yeah. To categorize it, yes, I would say that would be the door. That opened, that I entered into the automotive world.
So did you then bring that car back to Saudi with you?
No, unfortunately not. Sadly, I had a gentleman that one time approached me, saw me driving it and approached me, says, hey, dude, if you really, whenever, okay, I'm not pushing you, think of selling the car, okay? This is my business card. Please call me. That's it. That's my business card. Yeah. Just call me. Yeah. Okay. And as a matter of fact, I kept his business card. And when I really decided to come to Saudi and start my publishing and the magazine, and I raised my own capital. Really, I called him up and I sold the car. So
all right, cool. Have you owned one since then? Another Jaguar E-Type?
No.
Oh man, come on! You've got to get one.
That was the first and last Jaguar.
I think you should have one. I think you should have an E-Type now, because seeing as the significance of that car in your history, I think it's only
Yeah.
fitting that you should have another one.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact, now that you mentioned it, I would say about four years ago, I was in Oregon and I was driving by and I saw the car,
The same
and
one?
the same one.
Wow.
So I stopped and I went out and I said, "Look, it's my car."
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh my God.
So the
You
guy
need
and
to,
asked the guy,
you need to
let me
get
tell
that.
you the story.
You need to get that.
So I asked the guy, I said, where this car came from?
Yeah.
Can you tell me? He said, tell you what, this car, historically, this car been stored for 15 years, but prior to that was owned by a Saudi guy. And it was in mint condition. I'm just looking.
And you're like, it's me. It's me.
Yeah, I did not. I just let him tell
Oh
me the
man.
history. He said, my shop really used to maintain it for him,
Yeah.
and it was like mint condition. And then there is a gentleman that bought it, put it in storage, and we had to overhaul the engine and so forth. So he's telling me the history of the car. I honestly, genuinely, I looked for the second year. The second year, I said, I'm gonna buy it and just keep it. And unfortunately, the car was gone. So I asked for
Oh no, that's such a shame. It would be so good to get that car.
Yeah.
So let's pick up again on the story about when you came back to Saudi and you opened this the Saudi Auto Trader. So was that the first of its kind then in Saudi Arabia then? Because
Yes.
I remember growing up in Jeddah, and I remember the only access I had to material was obviously UK and American publications when they would come in occasionally.
Right.
And then there would be the most of the publications from Lebanon. They would come in, and I would buy those. I'd teach myself. I actually taught myself to figure out the spec sheets and all of this so that I could understand the numbers. But that's all there was, right?
Yeah. At the time, clearly, like you said, there were other publication titles, but they were really towards a different. They had a different formula, or they're targeting a different customer base. My target base was really the used market. It's like in the UK or like in the States, and how easy to be to do it, to sell your used car. I mean, I thought for people to sell their used car, it's a headache at that time in Saudi. You have to take it to the garage and the auction and so forth. And I said, yeah, why don't we just do a publication where it's a lot easier, and people could, I can send a photographer, they can take the picture. And actually, in the very beginning, I did it black and white, similar to the US format. But the paper was not newspaper paper. The paper was a finer paper with glossy paper, I would say. So the concept was really to stay away from what the others are doing and go into something a little bit different and new.
And so how was that received? I mean, you're starting from scratch, so you must have gone around to all of the dealers and all of the dealer networks and spoken to them from scratch. I mean, you're literally building from nothing. And I know this experience because, trying to be the first motoring journalist in Saudi Arabia, trying to get people to give me cars to review. I remember that experience. That was incredible, to try and get people to understand even what I was trying to do at the time. It was a hell of a challenge.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, when I brought that concept to Saudi, the dealers could not comprehend it, to be honest with you. The reason being is that they're mainly focused on selling new cars.
Yeah.
So the used cars to them is like, it's not our business. That's the Haraj auction, people that deal with that. So in the beginning, they felt that this is not for them because they did not have what they call it, a use or trade in. They were so busy just selling new. So to them, used, actually until now, they don't even pay attention to the used like other part of the world. They focus on selling the new. So when I brought them the concept to them, they felt that that's not for them.
Yeah.
And then, as a matter of fact, they just told me one time I had a meeting with one of the dealers, top dealers, and told me, "Look, listen, I like your way of thinking, but can I tell you something? And I said, sure. He said, look, Bakur, you're trying to educate people about buying, how to buy or how to sell a used car. Can you do us a favor? Can you educate them how to buy a new car first, and then after that, let them buy or educate them about the used cars?
Yeah.
Then it clicked to me is, I think what really came to me in light is that I should really go and develop a formula for consumers, to educate consumers about the cars, the new cars they're buying. Yet
so
throughout that.
So that was a transition between used and new.
Yes.
So around when did that happen?
I would say during the first year.
Oh, really? Oh, very soon. Very soon.
Oh,
1991 itself.
I mean, they
you know what?
me,
Sometimes I do
I'm
think
really passionate, and I'm just constantly evolving.
I'll tell you
Hey,
what.
put the energy here.
I'll tell you what. I do think sometimes that now that I realize that you were starting just as I was leaving, I'm kind of gutted that our paths didn't cross. Because imagine, in a parallel universe, we might have teamed up. Do you know what I mean?
You're right. You're right. I think if we'd have teamed up then, things would have been completely different.
Very different. I think our career paths would have been very different. Yeah.
What I really done at that time is I sat down and said, okay, yet I did not abandon the concept of the trader. So throughout the history, the trader is a portion in the back of the magazine. So you'll find a glossy magazine, whatever, test drive, comparative testing, pros and cons, whatever. At the end, you'll find a form, which is about 16 pages to 24 pages of all the cars for sale. So I came back and I said, okay, I want to do it differently. What I wanted to do is, how can I, and the focus, this is the formula, how can I give information to anybody who wants to buy a new car? So what does he need to make a decision? A, keep him updated on the latest launches and so forth. B, thoroughly test drive cars and talk about the pros and cons. 3, comparative testing. Nobody ever touch here, and a lot of them, they're afraid of the dealers.
I totally understand, but I want to go back, because you just skipped over 2 there. And 2 was really difficult in Saudi Arabia to get cars even to review. So again, after me, you would have gone around trying to get cars. I remember having a conversation with, I think it might have been the Suzuki dealer at the time. And it was like, okay, I want to do a review of the car. And they said, okay, how much will you charge? I'm like, no, it's free. They said, then why would you do it? I said, the newspaper pays me. And they said, well, the newspaper is going to pay you to do an advert for me. I'm like, no, it's not an advert.
It's not an advert.
It was around and round and round we went. It was really complicated. So you must have found the same thing.
I did, but I really, what I had to do, keep in mind that I, like for 8 months or so, I've been going and talking to them. When I wanted to change the concept of Saudi Auto, I went back to the dealers and I gave them a presentation of what I wanted to do, what I intend to do. So in so many ways, I got their blessings, I would say, that this is what I'm going to do, and you guys have to bear with me, and you have to support, because I'm doing it for the industry. And to be honest with you, I was really lucky. I was that the dealers gave me, some of them. Okay, not everybody, but I would say the ones that really believed that they needed in the industry at that time, there were people in the industry that really felt that needed that, really gave me a great support, and I'm really thankful to these people in the industry that did that. And the more the magazine quickly spread, and I remember the sales at that time got higher, the dealers start calling me. So really you had to adjust on the sort of the approach that you're making with the dealers and the consumers as well, is that you're really trying to not offend manufacturers,
I
but
know.
at the end of the day, be
It's really
honest with
difficult. It's
with
really
the
difficult.
consumers as well.
It's really difficult. I know, and there's a real balancing act. But fast
Exactly.
forwarding, I mean, so now what? Nearly 3 decades of doing this, and
Yes.
remembering right back to the sort of frontiers land aspect of how car trading was done in Saudi. I mean, I remember even when I was there, listening to stories about how people would go down to the docks to buy cars because that's how it would
Right.
happen. They just come off the ramps of the ships and you just buy
Right.
them as they came off. But
Right.
even since the time that you started in '91 till now, how do you think that the Saudi market has evolved and developed, or has it not developed?
Oh, of course. Oh man, it's been evolved and developed tremendously, night and day. Information right now, and I think, look, I really also have to share the credit with our colleagues, the Lebanese motoring medias,
Yeah.
that they've been there before I even
That's
launched
right.
it. Launched Saudi Auto, and actually, they to me they paved the way for me.
True.
You can tell me, no, they helped me quite a bit. They were good competitors. They were
absolutely.
a
It's
good,
important.
competitors, and good competition makes you flourish, makes you creative, and makes you walk on your toes.
Exactly.
So,
but how has the industry evolved, though? How has the car industry evolved in terms of how they do business in Saudi Arabia?
In terms of in relation to the medias, automotive medias?
No. In relation to how they do the business, how do they actually sell cars? Because again, going from that aspect where people would just turn up to the docks with a bag full of money to a much more, one assumes, a much more sophisticated market now, right?
Well, as you know, right now there's nobody, no dealer would not launch a car without inviting journalists.
Yeah.
In the past, no.
Yeah.
He would invite his sub dealers whoever wants to buy cars.
Yeah.
I mean, over the years, the Western approach, I would say the Americans or Europeans of launching cars, it becomes part of our business.
Yeah.
So if there is a launch of a car, if you are a recognized journalist, automotive journalist, respected in the field, you're the first one to be called. Either to attend their international launch, or at least to send you the car and says, please test drive the car. You know this. You've attended
quite a few, and quite a few with you actually.
I would say hundreds of those events. But
I will never forget. I will never forget that time. Where was it? In Canada, right? You and me and was it BMW? And we were up in the mountains.
Yes.
That was awesome. Like,
actually. Yes.
I was like reading. I was reading off pace notes for you, and you were chasing. You were chasing a Porsche at the time, I think, weren't you? That was good fun.
Again, the Porsche was chasing us, and we had to prove that the Beamers can compete with the Porsche. But remember the Tokyo trip, you and I, just alone, you and I. That was
that was good. Yeah,
that was
almost being abandoned by Honda at one point and just fending for ourselves, right?
As much as the trip went south, we had fun. I had fun. I don't know about you, but I had fun.
No, we had a laugh. It's always been a laugh. And so coming back to the Saudi market, how savvy are people in? I mean, obviously, since you're there now as media, this is one thing that people over here have maybe certain prejudices about. They're like, well, they don't really know their cars. And I tell people, look, people in Saudi, in Kuwait, and UAE, man, they are proper petrol heads. They know their cars.
Yes.
So, and I said to people, when I went to Dubai and I started doing car magazine, I had to be very careful, because whereas car magazine here might be read mostly by aspirational people who are hoping to get those cars, in UAE and in the wider Middle East region, I was talking to people that actually own those cars, like high-end performance cars, So you have to be very, very conscientious about that sort of thing.
Right. I totally agree with you. But keep in mind that the percentage of people, I would say the petrol heads in each country depends, I would say. But definitely in Saudi right now, I say the numbers are getting larger because of the population also getting larger as well. But these people are very important people. And manufacturers across let's say, the world are interested in these people because there are direct influencers.
Yes.
Influencers, I mean, by their own means, not necessarily
Yes.
they have but they
not the internet. We're not talking about the internet
yes, yeah.
influencers. We're talking about influences within their social circle.
In the society,
Yeah.
among their friends and relatives and so forth, they're greatly influence people's behavior. So that's really the numbers are grown. And I see that even with the digital world right now becomes, or the information becomes so accessible through phones and on the net and so forth, I see the numbers getting bigger and larger. People, but you still have the majority. The majority look at cars as being a means of transporting from point A to point B. And they want to be, to buy a car that, with good warranty and reliable and durable and so forth. Beyond that, they don't want to know. Okay.
So do you think the approach to buying cars or owning cars has changed in Saudi Arabia? Are they starting to think in terms of the environment and in terms of cost effectiveness and stuff like that?
Cost effectiveness, yes. Environment, I wish we are on the same speed as other countries. I wish we are, but we're there. We're moving. I mean, I just saw actually a statement from Saudi specification for the automotive. They issued the new regulations for electrical vehicles, which is wow. That is for us here. It's a big thing. So I think in terms of the environment and so forth, I feel we're slower. But I think the people are opening up. I think the people they're looking at keep in mind right now with the shift, people are really moving towards smaller cars as gasoline prices goes up. Shying away from the big SUVs, what it used to be in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, of course.
All of that, these are being sort of movement is really, of course, economies of scales and so forth. All of that really affected, I would say, the purchasing.
So paint me a picture. I remember if somebody asked me, like in the 80s when I was in Saudi, if somebody said, if you look down your street, what would you see? And I would say, I would see Cressidas, I would see Caprice Classics, and I would say Mercedes S-Classes. So if today you look down...
Suburban.
Exactly,
Don't forget Suburban. Suburban is
the
a 9-passenger.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So now if you looked out your window, what would you see?
That is a very good question, my friend. You will see Chinese cars.
Oh, really?
Small to medium. Yes. You will see. I mean, if you look at the Chinese brands right now, they are represented by big name dealers, such as Al Jumeah. He is the dealer of GAC. Al Majdoui, who is Al Majdoui has been for years the dealer for Hyundai in the Eastern Province, but right now took over Shenzhen and as well as Peugeot. So his country, whole country dealer for these brands.
So we got Chinese cars, and what else would you see on the street?
You will see Chinese cars. You will see, of course, obviously Korean cars between the Hyundai and the Kia. And obviously Japanese cars on the road, as you see. Again, like we look at the street, you will see the cars a little bit smaller than what it used to in the 80s and the 90s. Especially with the women right now driving, they tend to go in much more smaller SUV. Than bigger SUV. So yes, the roads have changed. Yes, it has, and you will see different cars right now on the road than.
Has there been a big uptake of women driving now in Saudi? Have they massively taken to the car?
Oh yes. I mean, the traffic, I would say, control. They've got more applicants that they can license. So they really put them on schedule to get them licensed. So it would take them at least 2 or 3 years to get everybody licensed the way it ought to be. But right now, if you drive in Jeddah, you'll see women driving, and it's just a normal day. And I really, hats off to women. I feel that they're really approaching driving the way it ought to be. They're not as aggressive as their male counters, and they're calmer, and that's the way it should be. So they're not aggressive. They're defensive driver, which is good.
So that's good. It's good to hear the evolution of the traffic happening over there. And also, you've, like you said before, you've also evolved. So now you're mostly a digital platform. Just tell everybody that's watching where they can find you. What are the various URLs and how they can find you?
Again, what I have done in the past is to really get Saudi Auto digitally, not Bakur Azher. There's a two concept. If you go digital, should you go with your name? Especially if you've been in the industry too long. I really did not invest on a personality as much as a platform or a name of the company. So Saudi Auto, right now, digitally, we have a YouTube channel, which is very, very successful YouTube channel. We have certain programs. We have test drives. We have news. We also have Ramadan. We have a Ramadan program, actually. Believe it or not, daily Ramadan program that we have. We tell a story of a car.
I've seen it. Yeah, I know you keep sending me the links on WhatsApp. I know.
So it's really.
You look really regal. You look really regal, and it's like a throne-like room, isn't it?
You know why? Because in that particular show, it's what we call in Arabic hakawati. Hakawati is a storyteller. So this is the days before the TV and the radio. So the storyteller goes to this cafe or coffee shop where people, after the Taraweeh prayers, they gather, they drink a cup of tea, and then this guy tell them a story. So he reads a story, but the way he reads that story, they can see it like a movie. The concept, basically, I sit and I tell a story, but not about a love story or bravery, about a car. The car could have been, is still alive, or the car it's killed. It no longer exists. So we tell the story of the car. So
I'll tell you what.
Social media.
Talking of stories. So what I'll do is I'll put all the links below. So I'll get all the links off you and I'll put them all. But saudiauto.com, I'm assuming is the big one, right?
saudiauto.com.sa.
Yeah. So talking of stories, I think we have a lot more stories to tell, and we could probably go for a lot longer. But
absolutely.
but I tried to keep these for an hour, for half an hour, and I've already gone over that. But I tell you what, we've got to pick up on this again. Thanks so much for doing this. Let's catch up very, very soon. All the best to all the team. Yeah, thank you so much. All the best to all the team at Saudi Auto. I know them all really well. So
thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And it was always fun. And I tell you that not just on your face and all the events, it's fun to travel with you. Thank you very much, and the best of luck to your program.
Thanks so much, mate. Take care. Bye. There you go, folks. Absolute definitive confirmation from Saudi Arabia's senior most and most established motoring journalist, Bakur Azher, that Shazad Sheikh, aka Brown Car Guy, yours truly, was in fact Saudi Arabia's first automotive journalist back in 1989. I've often said that, but now I think you can pretty much cast that in stone. That is a fact. So there you go. Anyway, that was a fascinating discussion. I think there's a lot more to get into with him, and I'm sure that I will revisit him again in a few weeks' time, hopefully. All of the guys, I hope you've been enjoying these conversations that I've been having here on Brown Car Guy and Buddies, this playlist, this series on my YouTube channel. Please make sure that you're subscribing, and if you're enjoying these channels, make sure you hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any of them when I upload them. And also tell me what you think of them. Comment on this channel or anywhere else, even on my social media. In fact, follow me on my social media. Search for hashtag Brown Car Guy. That's on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and of course subscribe to browncarguy.com. And if you are enjoying these videos and you enjoy my content, then maybe you can support me. Just go to patreon.com/Shazad Sheikh, and there you will also find a unique and exclusive piece of content from me to you, which is kind of like my parody sequel to the original Cannonball Run movie. I think it's a lot of fun. You let me know what you think of it. Even if you can't support me, please continue to like, share, comment, subscribe, and all the rest of it. That's much appreciated. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you again in the next one.